Good morning. We will pay attention to provision for bad debts today when the provision is decreased at the end of the financial year. On 31st December 2014, the debtors had an outstanding amount of 10,200. The provision for bad debts had a balance of 350 that has been created the previous year. The owner decided to adjust the provision for bad debts to 290 rand. The debtors has a debit balance of 10,200. The provision for bad debts has a credit balance of 350. He decides to reduce it to 290 rand. So that means that this provision for bad debts, the new balance must now be the 290, and to be able to change it from 350 to 290, you will have to debit the provision for bad debts account to decrease the provision. If you debit the provision for bad debts, it means that the provision for bad debts adjustment must be credited with the 60 rand. So in this case, the provision for bad debts is reduced, and because it's reduced, you will have an income. So this 60 rand, the difference between the previous year and the current year, will be taken to the profit and loss account as an income that will increase the profits of the business. Remember that the debtors control is your positive asset, and provision for bad debts is the negative asset. So the debtors is a positive asset. The provision for bad debts is a negative asset. And these two accounts form a unit. So the debtors increase on the debit side and must decrease on the credit side. We open a separate account for the provision for bad debts because we don't know exactly who will not pay their accounts in the future, but we provide for it that some people will not give us the money. And therefore, the provision for bad debts will always have a credit balance, because in the balance sheet, we will show that the debtors have a balance of 10,200 minus the provision for bad debts of 290, and that will give us the amount that we expect to receive from debtors in the future. What did we learn? When the provision for bad debts is adjusted, as in this case decreased, it will be an income that will be created, provision for bad debts adjustment. Adjustment is either the income or an expense. When the provision for bad debts is decreased, then the adjustment account will be credited, and it means that it will be an income for the business. If the provision for bad debts increases, then the adjustment account will be debited, and it will be an expense for the business. In the balance sheet, the provision for bad debts will always be deducted from the debtors. In the income statement, the provision for bad debts adjustment, in this case, will be shown as an income, but when the provision decreases, it will be shown as an expense.